here we are. We're back for part two of this, where I'm going to go into the breakdown because you see, a lot of people they don't want to plan this part. Most people don't want to process this part. Most people don't want to deal with this phase. And you know what that is? The amount of time. People think of a 90, 6 month, 9 month, 1 year plan. A lot of people have a problem because a lot of people misestimate the amount that they can accomplish in 1 year. You want to know why that person in the grid in the video previous could not come up in ranking? Because they were chasing after a numeric value and they didn't do the baseline work, so the foundation and everything else was falling apart, right? A lot of people overshoot what they can commit to or accomplish in 1 year. We all do it. I'm guilty myself. But what you got to learn to do, yes, you begin with the end in mind, but you can't sit up there and say, I'm going to be there in a year. I remember an old Martin episode where he just got hired for this job. And he was so ambitiously loving himself so much that, and operating in pride, because that's what that is. I'm just let you know. You can get to Jesus. But he got the job. And see, part of the problem was he had gotten fired previously and he had a high position in his previous job, and now he was starting at the bottom. So he's like, I'm gonna make it to the top real fast. Anybody remember that old episode of Martin where they was like, here, you're gonna buff the floor? And he was like, excuse me, and he had this whole attitude. All right, I'm gonna be manager tomorrow. You can't start a job today and be manager tomorrow. I'm so sorry. You gonna buff these floors. And a lot of y'all, you just started this job. You need to buff these floors. Find this foundational work. Understand that foundational work that you got to do. Organic work that you got to do. You're going to have to hit the ground and go hit your prospects in the case that you're trying to bring a audience to what it is that you're trying to. You got to build that community. And that may take you a year before you even sell anything, depending on your own charismaticness and the way that you can handle people. If you don't know how to talk to people, guess what? I don't understand how you going to be in business. Because you got to learn how to talk to people. You got to learn how to talk to people that work for you. You got to learn how to talk to people on a regular basis. You got to learn how to talk to people. Okay? Next to that, you underestimate how long or how much you can accomplish in 5 years. Because everybody has a 5-year plan. In 5 years, in 5 years, in 5 years. Some of you can accomplish stuff in a condensed amount of time. But if you've never done it before, don't start thinking that you're going to be able to run out here and do everything and be done with it. Because guess what? If you could get it done in a year, it would collapse you. Why? Because you did it too fast. Your body wasn't ready. Have you ever seen a runner take off running that didn't know how to run? Never ran. Just started running today. Decided to take off running. And how much pain they were in before they even got a quarter of a mile. Why? Because your body wasn't ready for that kind of a run. You needed to step back and understand what you were walking into. You needed to understand that you have to prepare your body to take off running. You just can't take off running. Okay? But most people, what do? They just take off running. I see an opportunity. Let me. You didn't even figure out how to stretch your body first to figure out how to run. Where you going? And how are you going to do that without ending up in a whole lot of pain? Now, everybody sits up there and talks about no pain, no gain when you're exercising, but guess what? There are ways that you can injure yourself if you take off running incorrectly. There are people that have injured their feet. There are people that have injured ankles. There are people have pulled muscles, tendons, and everything else because they call themselves, I'm going to go do this the way that I want. That's your problem. Some of y'all incorrectly took off running after what it was that you knew that you wanted to do, but guess what? You're running wrong. Remember, you can't start running in a marathon tomorrow. You can't sign up for it today and run in it tomorrow. Not gonna work. Not gonna work unless you have prepared and prepared. Did you do the prep work? If you haven't done the prep work, go sit down, do your prep work. Even the most advanced singers will sit up there and tell you they had to do a whole bunch of preparatory work on their voices and throats to make sure they were able to sing. And they usually started with a me, 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 me. Not all the runs and the cuteness and all that little stuff that people do in order to make things look all nice. They make the voice sound great and all that. They had to go sit down and strengthen the back of their throat. They had to go sit down and strengthen their lungs' capacity to breathe in the right amount of air in order for them to be able to sustain pushing that entire song out. What? Ooh. The unfun parts. For my creatives over here that are interested in music and singing. You gotta learn how to breathe before you can even start singing. For my brothers, you gotta learn how to breathe to run. You ever try running in ice cold weather? You will choke and darn near fall out. Some of y'all are in a cold market trying to take off running, and you breathed in that air, and it darn near took your chest out. Wait, what? There's steps to this. There's steps to this. And I know you all heard about it. You know you're supposed to crawl before you walk. I believe majority of us, if we here at this point, we more than likely know how to walk. So I'm not saying you're going to skip the crawling part, because as you're putting yourself into a business mindset, you still got to learn how to crawl in that business. What does the crawl look like in that business? That means understanding where you are. What does a baby do when it's first born? It starts looking around. When it gets to a point that it can crawl, what is the first thing it's going to start doing? Crawling around to discover stuff, pull up on stuff, get around stuff. That's what you need to do. You need to start figuring out what it is that you're doing. What are you doing? Then you're going to learn by observation. How do babies learn how to walk? They watch their parents, and their parents help lift them up and help them get the strength in their legs by lifting them and putting them down. Lift, put down, lift, put down, lift up. Because they try and get that strength in them legs. How you going to strengthen them legs? You going to go find you somebody that you can shadow, a partner, an accountability individual that you can shadow and gain some understanding of. Or you're on these YouTube things and you're researching and you're doing all this kind of stuff. Somebody that you're shadowing that's already doing what it is that you're trying to do. Already built what you're trying to build. Huh? Wait, what? Yes. Now you know how to walk. Good. Let's power walk. Ooh, what's power walking? You gotta learn how to do the walking with a level of gumption. I was listening to a YouTuber I follow. She said, do it with your chest. You need to be secure in that. You need to be able to build momentum in that. You need to have enough strength in your legs that there is momentum in that. Meaning, whatever it is that you're building, that you're in a level of consistency that is momentum behind that. A fluidity. You know how to get from the power walking to jogging, because if you go get to power walking, your legs are already strong enough to jog, and you'd be surprised how fast you can jog around. I used to go around. It was a reservoir in my local community, and it was about a quarter of a mile, a little over a quarter of a mile, I think, because you had to go around it 4 times. Was it around it 4 times? No, it was a mile. No, it was like a mile and a half, naturally. So when I first started walking, it took me an hour to walk that thing. In 3 to 6 months, I could get around it in 25 minutes. On a good day, 15. One day it was about to rain, and I had only just started walking around, but I was already a quarter of that first mile around, like 2/3. So I had to still get around there, and it was going to rain hard. I managed to get around that thing and get back to my front door just before it downpoured. Why? Because I had learned how to power walk and jog. So I got around that thing about 15 minutes and got to my front door in less than 10. I probably got around the whole thing and to the door in 15 minutes. Which lets you know, can you stand the rain? I don't mean to sound like a New Edition song, but I need you to understand when there is a downpour in what it is that you are doing. Let's just use that momentarily. Are you ready? Everybody said, I want to go viral. I want to go viral. That's a downpour. There's an opportunity for a bunch of people to come into one area. Do you have some buckets to catch that water? Whether it's financial or whether it's individuals. How are you going to capitalize on when that downpour come in or that viral moment come in? Because it's not always going to be raining. You see how that works? Ooh. So how are you catching that? Do you have an email list? Are you receiving email content? Have you captured the information that's going to give them the ability to continue? And are you properly engaging that email list? Are you leaving them hanging? How are you doing, and how are you in the process of building that out? Because you want to create a fluidity. Remember, a repeatable formula and or system that can operate. The system you build it on, whether you're doing it completely through schedulers and AI, or whether you have a repeatable formula that you have people that you've hired as team members that are going to do it for you, the framework needs to be repeatable. So in the case of the fact that, let's say you have a viral moment, how you going to catch that water? How you going to catch that rain? So you can take off, what? Running. Why? Because once you do that and you properly capitalize on that moment, now you can move from running to bike riding. Oh, you see how that transition, boo? Now you got this glide, because a bike, when you get on a bike, it glides. But some of y'all don't even know how to ride a bike. I did know how to ride a bike, but if you don't know how to ride a bike in business, you still don't know how to ride a bike. But I need you to gain the understanding of the parable of the bike. If you can't get from the running to the bicycle, and make the proper smooth transition, because some of you in the transitions from each one of these phases are going to have connection fit because you don't know how to transition from one thing to another at the pacing that you need to transition to it. Because when you are building something, there's a breakdown in the midst of it, and that transitionary process can almost take you out. It has almost taken out a many of a business. It's in that transitionary phase. It's in that test of that transition. It's in that momentum, because that's when you really need to be able to run, because you got to be able to make a quick shift in a period of time that you're not used to, and manage to completely carry over everything that needs to be carried over properly, and properly aligned, adjusted, adjointed, and all of this kind of stuff, so that the joists and the joints to that thing properly flow from one thing to another, one location to another, one platform to another. You get my drift? So that all things are flowing. Is your system operating correctly? Do you need to move that system to another system? And in that process of moving system to system, did you lose something? Did you lose any of your prospects? Did you lose any of the people? You got emails. Okay, now you got emails, but can you transfer those emails from this platform to the other platform and not lose nobody? Is your content fully aligned properly? And in the process of transitioning that content, are you going to lose people? You may gain people, but how much you going to lose? And if you lose people, are you going to be okay with that loss? Because there's an ugly point to that adjustment period where you're losing people and you're gaining people, and you may feel like a failure when you see a whole bunch of people drop off. But you're trying to gain the people that's going to help you glide on that bike. And since you now do that, now you got to learn how to get from biking to driving. Some of y'all do know how to drive a car. Blessed be to Jesus if you know how to drive a car, and well, you may be able to handle this phase. Because the one thing I recognize is people know how to drive, actually know how to drive their life. People that know how to drive their life actually know how to drive a business. They don't keep running into roadblocks, bumps, issues. You understand what I'm saying? So what you do will reflect, and you'll be able to see in those actions what it takes. And I need you to look at that, and that's going to also reflect in your money. Why? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you know how to do these things, you can figure out how to get it, but you need to understand the motions. Why do you think in the movie The Karate Kid that man said wax on, wax off? I'm explaining to you wax on, wax off right now. Because you're probably trying to figure out, why am I talking about crawling, walking, power walking, and jogging when we're supposed to be talking about money and how to build a business? Because if you do not understand the basics, and then need to take that same framework of crawling, walking, power walking, jogging, running, then driving, or biking and then driving, because you can't skip steps. Sorry, you can't. But once you change into that vehicle's going to operate different. It got a different power system. Guess what? It can flow a little different. But some cases, some of us have good seasons, and then we have a bad season. A bad season may takes you from driving that car to riding that bike again. You may lose the bike, and you still got to turn around here and walk or run. And nobody runs consistently. This is why we see sprinters. It's only 100-meter dash, not a full on run around. Oh, okay. And you're going to be going through seasons. And some of you, if you go from driving a car to walking, or in your personal life, if you go from driving a car and going back to running on your feet, you was like, why am I running on I had a car, God. That's what your business going to do to you on occasion. You're going to be driving, and next thing you know, you're going to be biking. I remember seeing a video one day. I was at church and they were talking about there were people. The dude was in a car and he was driving, but he was complaining about the fact that he wasn't on a plane or something like that. But there was a person sitting on the bench complaining about the fact that he didn't have a car because he was riding on the bus. And then there was a guy sitting there in front of him that had a bike and he was complaining because he didn't have the car. And then there was a person that was walking on foot that wish he had the bike. Some of y'all gonna go through these phases. But you gotta understand there's a transitionary period that once you have mastered each of these phases throughout your business, guess what? You reach that good phase. You know what the good phase? You get to swim. Oh, we back to talking about current, water, swimming, current, sea, money. Whoa, we got back here. That's what all that was about. Because once you get to a point where you're swimming, you can now flow in a manner that you'll be able to maintain. And that's what you're taking the 5 years to determine. But you know what you're going to do from that point? You got to climb. You got to go from swimming to climbing because you got to climb that mountain because you got to get to that level. Because some people want to get to that $1 million range, but there's also people that want to get to that $10 million range. Some people want to get $10 million a month range. So you got to climb the mountain to get there. Or you got to have the right gear in order to get up that mountain. Am I making sense to you? There's a new television show that's coming on called The Summit, where they're talking about these people doing, as a contestants, they got to get to the top of a summit. The air is different on a mountain. The air is different for those of y'all that really want to make some money in your creative endeavors. Some of you just want to do something. Others of you like, I'm not just doing this. I want to actually be like some of them rich people that actually have money. You're going to have to climb a summited mountain, okay, for your industry. You're going to deal with resistance because it's going to be wind and rain. When I'm hearing that old Supreme Marvin Gaye song, no wind, no rain. It's going to keep me from getting to you. You hear me? So how you going to do that? Start right so you can stay right. Number one, you got to realize that you're running a marathon. Can you go? At the very least, can you go listening to my podcast on how to operate as a phenompreneur and run this triathlon that you're running? I'm going to need you to go find out what do triathlon runners have to go through in order to, I'm talking about diet, I'm talking about mindset, I'm talking about all of this. Go find an audiobook. Do whatever you have to. But I need you to figure out what that triathlon runner, even look at their diet. And I'm not saying that you have to go and eat the way that they ate, but you may need to change your diet in order to be able to maintain a right mindset. Do you know that what you eat can affect the way that you're able to process things during the day? Most people run around and they grab some stuff that's going to make their brain foggy. Why? Because it's like, let me go grab this little chewy thing over. Let me go grab something really quick. Let me get this burger. Let me get this. Let me get this. Let me get this. Let me go get this milkshake. Let me go get this. And you also need to be careful for those of y'all that love to do green juices and all that kind of stuff, because some of that is full of sugar. Even if it's natural sugar, it's sugar. And I love me a good green juice every once in a while, but every once in a while. Okay? You got to understand how that operates, how to balance that out. You understand what I'm saying? So, in having that understanding, you got to eat right in order to be able to maintain your body, because even a runner A runner has to understand when they need to eat and how they need to eat. You have to actually bulk up your diet in order to be able to maintain, because as you are running, you're losing weight as you are gaining your muscle or whatever it is that you're doing for your, and you don't want to be that person that don't gain no weight. Get your weight up so that you can maintain that run. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, what does that look like? Gaining the wisdom and the knowledge needed and necessary. So I'm going to give you a series of books. And I'm Christian, so you're going to get this Jesus. But if we kingdom creators, we should be here. I'm going to give you, I believe it's 5 books from a Christian walk. And then I'm going to give you, I think it's 4 from the other, from Worldly. But these books were good. Okay? Now, number 1, understanding the covenant of angel armies. Because it's one, angel armies and wealth. Next, it's unleashing wealth from the courts of heaven. Number 3, the God pocket. What you're doing with your money. Because how you donate your money and you move your money is going to help you understand your money better. Then there's a book where, I don't know the exact title, it talks about Solomon and looking into the way that Solomon managed his wealth. Okay? Then there is Make God Your CEO, meaning structuring yourself financially with God-centered wisdom. Okay? And that's just wisdom for life. Okay? Now, there was a book, and you can find this on YouTube, so you ain't even gotta go far for this one. It's called 21 Most Powerful Minutes. Go listen to that. It's about 5 hours and 32 minutes long, okay? No, it's not 21 minutes long. But it's got some good financial advice, and it makes you think about money a little bit differently, okay? Next to that, Damon John, The Power of Being Broke. Because a lot of people, some of y'all right here, right now, and you need to understand what that does to you and how to change your mindset in relation to that. Because what you are pouring into you will give you the tenacity to run this race. All right? Oh, okay. There's another book, and you can find all these books somewhat on Audible. Up from Nothing. That was a really good book. And lastly, the Fire Starter Sessions. This is going to help you with that planning capacity, because I can give you a plan capacity. This is going to help you with that mindset to maintain all of that kind of stuff, because I can sit here and tell you a lot of stuff and you're going to get it, but sometimes when you get that depth element of how that hands-on, this is why I'm thinking, and you let me know, would y'all want to, and even if you put comments in this video, would y'all want me to make you some journals to help y'all plot this out? Because these are the things that's going to help you gain the capacity to be able to balance and develop your wealth. Right now, you're trying to produce wealth, and you're trying to produce it from productized elements, whether it's a product or service element, through using media, and some of you are called to operate in the media. That's TV, entertainment, all of this kind of stuff. Educate. There you go. So, with that being said, you got to know how to structurize, but you got to have that knowledge in mind. And all of that's going to come from, you need to sit down and figure out what you're good at. Once you figure out what you're good at in the zones of genius, like I told you in the previous one, you'll be able to properly productize your wealth. But you need to remember, and I'm going to keep saying it to you, the most important thing that you need to do is do not structure this one on top of you. Don't do it. Don't structure it on top of yourself. And two, when you're planning out your products and your services, understanding what's easiest sellable to the hardest sellable, what you're most knowledgeable about and what you're least knowledgeable about, what can be done quickly and what cannot. And then even in understanding those things, you need to know, what are you willing to sit up there and talk about, repeatedly sell and repeatedly promote and repeat. And you don't want to become salesy about it. But the more products you create, the more salesy you are, unless you are a product manufacturer. You understand what I'm saying? That means I need you, if you're doing products, I need you to act like a person that creates products. Meaning, I need you to research like a researcher of a person that is in product and sales. Meaning, if you were working for a department store and you were purchasing tumblers for that department store and they need to get those tumblers in every season, I need you to operate like that person. I need you to operate, if you trying to do a clothing line of hoodies and sweatshirts, I need you to operate like a clothing manufacturer that does graphic t-shirts at the fashion show. What's the process for that? I need you to go and read a book on that. Hello. We out here learning. So you need to become a student of what it is that you do and know it as well as possible. If you're going to do teaching, I went to school for fashion design, so I know about SKUs and seasonal things and putting out clothing every season and what it takes to start from season by season, how to do your mock-ups, how to do your back ends, how to do your prep work for. I know all of it. And guess what? Here's a little hint. Most businesses and companies, that same prep work operates in every single industry. They just call those things different. They still have to plan. Even your music artists have to plan out their albums, song by song. Creators and musicians, raise your hands. People that are storytellers, raise your hands. You got to do the same thing. Yours is just the outline for a book. Oh, okay. So we will come back in the next one. But before I do, I want to just give you this last little point. Understand your patterns. Understand how you self-sabotage yourself in looking at all of this planning and stuff that you have to do, and understand how to take that off of your plate. Once you understand that, you will